Let it begin, so they say. We are back. We are live at the Customer Experience World Games 2021. Although it seems like it's been a long time, it's really just been about a week since our last check-in. Fireside Chats Without the Fires, the official podcast voice and partner of the CX World Games, is back with the founder and brain behind the CX World Games, Christopher Brooks, and we have a guest extraordinaire, team captain, Mandisa Makubalo, who we're going to introduce in just a second as well. A huge applause for her. We're going to get to spend a little bit of time with her and get to know her just a little bit. I'm excited. I can't wait to talk together with her. But before we get to that, Christopher Brooks, share with us the updates. Where are we in the World Games? Tell us everything that everybody should know, both participants and non-participants that haven't been as close. Tell us the latest and greatest.
Well, we are in Challenge 3 has just been completed. All the entries are coming rushing in for that. So we were in Rwanda with a women's empowerment charity. Fabulous story and incredible work that's happening there. And we're getting teed up now for Challenge 4. So for Challenge 4, we're jumping from Rwanda to Bangladesh. And we're off to help farmers of small holdings in Bangladesh. An incredible initiative that runs out there, and testament to the fact that sometimes you can't do these things as charities. This NGO had to become a PLC in order to attract some serious investment because they needed to basically provide finance to growers, and you can't do that if you're a charity. So you hear their story and you can see how they really need some help. And they came to the games. We fell in love with what they're trying to achieve. Incredible work they're doing, and that is the next challenge that's coming. We've got one more after that. The final one is an incredible story, and I'll save that till later. But I've been looking at the entries. I've been talking to the first two recipients, the beneficiaries. First of all, we had Neal and the Stress Management Society. He was blown away with the capability of the players. First of all, he sort of was a little overwhelmed. He was, there's too much stuff. I didn't want all of this. But he realized that the heart and giving nature of the players is that they've not only looked at the brief, but they've gone, what about this? What about this? What about this? So he's got all this extra stuff as well. So he's so delighted. He's kind of seen, that's what I wanted, and I got all of this. And then we had a beautiful message from Ashley from Love Not Lost. She was... her message is so wonderful, and I won't reveal the story because in it she says who her favorite choice was. But what she loved about it was that she could take it, plug it in, and do it now. You can make a change straight away off the page. So it's great to see that the players, the teams, the CX partisans, and everyone else are taking the briefs and really thinking about the reality of the charity, the size of them, the challenges they face, and not giving them great big shiny corporate versions. I think as Jess called it, kind of, the corporate BS. They're giving them real stuff that they can use. So that's what's filled my week up. Imagine that, just spending time hearing from people saying how wonderful the players are and getting a chance to read all the wonderful work the players are handing in. So, yeah, I've had a fabulous week.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. So we are on the back half of this now. We are the we're not concluding quite yet. Obviously, we're in challenge 4. It's great to know. It's great to see your enthusiasm and hear it in your voice, because I got to say, I will steal from Paul, our co-host at Fireside Chats with Fires. You look like you're buzzing. You look really happy.
I am. Yeah. I am. I mean, we've got I think teams and Mandisa, I'm sure we'll come on to this. Teams are finding their groove. They're finding the way they work. And we always find the first challenge or so, it's a case of, do we want to set up an agile? Do we want to set up cards? Do we want to use the stories? No. Do we just want to meet last? Everyone has their different ways of doing it. And when you get into the flow of things and you start to realize that everyone has a contribution. So I spoke to one of the captains and they said, got a couple of players who really experienced, but are leaning forward a bit too much. And he said, actually, now they've settled in and everyone has a voice. And that's the thing. Everyone has a voice, these diverse voices. Everyone has great ideas. They just need a forum to bring them out through. So, we're on the back straight, but potentially teams are just kind of getting themselves going. But that's good, because one of the things that we'll be sharing probably in the next podcast is Heidi Stone is the ambassador of the games, and her responsibility after the games conclude is to then see if anyone wants to put their hand up and spend a bit of time voluntarily with any of these organizations, making the ideas a reality. We only need a couple. I always put my hand up, and it just helps push it across the line, because sometimes the owners of the charities are loving the ideas, but just go to do it and think, how do I do that? So we're over the top. We've got 21 ideas have come in so far across the 21 brand new ideas, and we put these into the learning vault, and anyone who's ever played in the games gets access to them. So there is now over 60 ideas in that vault sitting there from last year and this year, that you might kind of go, well, I've got a challenge with, I'm working on a client and it's to do with retail and how do they do social distance. Well, you'd reach in there and you'd find the idea. In fact, you'd find 6 ideas or 7 ideas. So just seeing all that come together is just testament that it's amazing what can be achieved when kind of nobody cares who takes the credit.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the thing that I like the most listening to you, and you, I'm going to give you credit. You reminded me, and then it resonated and echoed in my head, what Jess Noble, one of the judges, said about having these amazing ideas come forth, but not just because they're rich, creative, innovative thoughts, but they're executable. They're things that these organizations can actually put into practice, and that's, I think, what matters most. They're not theory. They are things that are going to hopefully actually be plugged in, and something will be done with them, and they will be turned into something. And I think there's nothing more enriching than that. That's great to hear that's the feedback that the recipients, the beneficiaries of all these thoughts are sharing with you.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of players out there who are actual, that they execute stuff. They work on the front lines. They're dealing with contact centers. They're actually designing improvements in their organization. So it's a world they're used to, which is great, because some people are a bit more strategic. And that's the idea. You get this blend of people, but hopefully everyone is taken out of their comfort zone with the type of challenges that we're giving them, because they're not the sort of everyday thing that you get. Is that the case, Mandisa?
It is.
That's great. Before we turn to Mandisa, Chris, I know you have tons of things going on. You have a very busy set of schedule and things like that. Any final parting thoughts for the day for the community, for listeners, for participants, for those who maybe not participating? Any final message before we let you run?
Yeah, well, we've made some contact with some of the players who some people think, what contribution can I make? All these smart people there. But honestly, I mean, just building a wall, unless everyone puts a brick in it, it won't work, So everyone can make a small contribution, and just rocking up now is not. You've got 2 challenges to go. That will impact hundreds and hundreds of lives. So it is never too late to just step forward and say, hey, I've been busy or didn't quite know how I'd work this, but I'd love to get involved now. So anyone who is registered, not actually playing at the moment, please step forward. I'm sure Mandisa will echo this, but your captains will welcome you with open arms, as will your players when you get a new voice and you get new ideas into the room. So it's never too late to let the games begin.
Got it. Christopher Brooks, as always, thank you for what you do. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Well, this morning we're here this afternoon, your time. It's great to spend a little bit of time with you. We will look forward to our next session that we'll do live. We'll also hear some more updates when we get there. But in the meantime, players, participants, keep plugging away, keep generating amazing content. And we are grateful to you once again, Christopher, for everything that you do for the community.
There's no worries. I'm going to hang in the background here and listen to Mandisa for a while. So over to you.
Perfect. Mandisa, I am so happy to have this time together with you. I'm going to tell you why. I hope that you don't, maybe you get these messages from people all the time, but I don't get to spend time with people who live in South Africa. I have to say, I think you might be the first person I've met from South Africa. This is not an everyday occurrence for me, so it's a rich, it's a unique experience, and I'm so thrilled to have that opportunity to get to know you just a little bit. And I've recently followed you on LinkedIn. I don't know as of how long ago. What a following you have. Oh my gosh, I see your name. It pops up in my feed all the time. You've written something, you've shared something, you've been tagging something. You're involved in so many. It's just really nice to spend this time to get to know you. Because I'm going to bet that not everybody knows the you behind the name. We know your name in writing and print, but now's a chance to spend just a little bit of time to get to know you a little bit. It's really nice to have you welcome once again to the program.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, for those that really aren't familiar with your work, I've looked at your LinkedIn profile. You do lots of different activities. I always look at LinkedIn profiles, and I look first at the dates. And there's lots of, in your LinkedIn profile, lots of things you're doing that have a start date and then present. So you're currently involved in lots of different things. Can I ask you some of those things? What are they for those that don't know you, so that we can become familiar with the type of activities you're involved in?
So my recent achievement is being involved with the Women in CX Global Community, which is led by Claire Muscat out in London. So I'm one of the early founding members of the community. And how that happened is she had initially invited me as a guest on a podcast series, which is again talking to women in CX. And an outcome of that was me being offered a seat as a founding member in the global Women in CX community. And it's been a beautiful journey. I love being part of the community. It's something I've never been part of before. There is so much richness in the community. It's a network of women, and it's all about women. It's about you as a woman, not only professionally or vocationally, but you as a mother, you as a wife. So we get to share so many vulnerable cases. You're struggling with things at home, you're struggling at the office, you're struggling just with friends, and we talk about those things. So that's my recent achievement. Outside of that, I serve on a couple of boards in South Africa, but in charity organizations. So outside of the CX space, I'm someone who's very much involved in social impact in South Africa. My passion is really about finding ways to develop our townships through my skill sets. So I do work with a lot of small businesses in South Africa, and I use customer experience as a tool to drive economic development in the township specifically. But I also work with a lot of youth and women, which led me to setting up the first virtual talent room, which is a podcast dedicated to curbing unemployment, especially between women between 18 and 35 years of age, because those are classified as youth in South Africa. So my daughter and myself have been working on that podcast. It's running on YouTube at the moment. And I had a pool of about 22 young ladies that come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So what I had realized is that how can I leverage technology to try and introduce this talent to the global community? So then I realized that we have access to Wi-Fi in the office. I paid for their travel to come to the office. We offered them retrenchments. We went and started off with really looking at their CVs. We created profiles for them on LinkedIn, and then I prepared them for the virtual conversation using the office space. Well, some of the guys live in tin structures in terms of their houses. Sometimes there's 10 people in the same structure, so there's no privacy to have a virtual conversation. So we founded different spaces and locations within our office, and I had those conversations with them and just really asking them to talk about what unemployment has been like for them. If they were to change things, what would they change? for them to talk about their experiences and what they bring to corporates. And I'm really hoping that even if I don't get a big following on YouTube, if I can just make a difference to one of those ladies, that will, help me. And some of them, if didn't even know what a podcast is, some of them don't even have LinkedIn profiles. So it was exciting to look at them and to see the impact that we've been able to make just by that idea that came. But my daughter is now running with that. We have an Instagram page. She's actively posting, driving engagement, and we're really hoping to secure employment for them.
That's wonderful. Wow, you have so many different great activities that you're contributing both locally and outside of South Africa. These are wonderful things, and there's just not enough time right now to delve into each of those, but these deserve their own podcast. I really want to know more about them. We're going to invite you back to the Fireside Chats Without a Fires podcast to learn more about each of those activities, but this is a wonderful start. I'm curious, how, from geographically a bit distant, how did you become part of the CX World Games? Because certainly it is a world focus. There's a Middle East component, there's a LATAM component, certainly in Europe. I don't perceive that there's as much activity in Africa. How did you become part of the game? How did you find the games, or how did the game find you?
I actually saw the games last year. And when I looked at the heart behind the games, that drew my attention. And I remember reaching out, and unfortunately last year I couldn't, because I was quite busy and I had so much stuff that I needed to do. But when I looked at the type of organizations and really the heart behind the games, that for me, because I'm so passionate about giving back and township development and resuscitating these dead townships, for me, that hit me in a very deep way that led me to then say, let me see how I can get involved. So when Chris came back, this was to say, Mandisa, there's an opportunity. I said to him, please, I want to get involved. For me, it's not even about trying to create a commercial awareness about my brand, but it's the fact that there are organizations out there that are really, really dealing with these issues that we don't normally deal with on a commercial level. And I want to make a difference, even if I don't get to the top team or to win a challenge, but knowing that I've been able to engage and make a contribution to these organizations, that will give me sleep at night.
That's wonderful. That's really just a specialty. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tell me one thing. So now that you are the team captain of the CX Partisans, what do you think about your team? How's your team done so far?
My team is they're amazing. They are amazing. I'm going to be quite honest. We've had some people that have never, ever engaged, and it's okay. Look, the first thing I told myself is that it's not about the number of people in the team. Even if there's 2 people in the team or 3 in the team, it's about just having a heart to help. And I'm not saying that those that couldn't get involved do not have a heart to help, but I need to prepare myself mentally that, sometimes you start off with 20 people, you might only end up with 10, but it doesn't mean the ones that pull out, they are less committed. Sometimes you go into something, but then things happen, and that's okay. So I think because I had that mental shift initially, and I spoke to the likes of Jonathan, who were actively involved as captains in the last year, just to find out from them, what are the key things that I should be on the lookout for? How have you dealt with those challenges? That really, really helped me. When I took that approach of finding out, and I could already see immediately who are the guys that are really coming to the party and are committed. And I still have those same guys. Like now we have a meeting planned. We are right in the middle of Challenge 3. I spent my entire day today working on Challenge 3, on the Resonate, the whole business. And we've been chatting on the WhatsApp group. It's quite active. I know there's time differences, so sometimes at 2 a.m. I'll be sleeping and I'll be getting these WhatsApps coming through. I'm like, this time difference. I know. And my family would say, why are you up this time? I'm like, you guys are not going to understand. But that for me, the fact that Mandisa, you are making a difference one way or the other, that keeps me going. I get to wake up at night because the focus and the purpose and the heart behind the games, that keeps me going.
That's wonderful. we're going to be certainly following the progress of the CX Partisans and seeing how the team continues to compete. Do you have any final thoughts or recommendations, whether that's for your current team, that your team members, or for those that are not participating in the games but are paying attention? They're watching the LinkedIn posts, they're watching these LinkedIn lives, they're listening to these podcasts. They know that there's a thing called the CX World Games, but they haven't actually jumped in yet. Any recommendations to them to hopefully get them to participate?
I have a few recommendations. I know that, and this is something I've experienced myself. So there's a tendency to think that because you've been a CX professional for the last 20 years, I don't need the exposure from the CX World Game. I've got my brand established. I'm known in the industry. I don't need to get involved in such things. But it's not about that. You should never get to a stage where you feel like, I am matured I'm a guru, I'm an expert, I'm a professional. That is only for entry-level professionals. They can get involved in the game. I don't need that exposure. I've got everything covered. It's not about that. It's about really saying, as I'm going through with my business, how can I give back? Having that mindset of continuously wanting to give back. And for me, the big thing, it's about being part of a community. I'm always looking to learn from other people. I'm always looking to connect. I'm out in South Africa. But for me, I think there's so much richness in communities that I've met people that I would have never met if I wasn't part of the games. We are learning each and every day. There's so much I'm getting from them that I did not. And I've always been open-minded about learning. I never want to get to a stage where I feel that I know everything there is to know, because then you're bordering on arrogance and there are missed opportunities. We are continuously learning as people. And this is a platform where you are making a difference in other people's lives. I might not ever see those people in Rwanda, or the people in the Stress Management Society, or the people in Love Not Lost, but I've made a difference. Even if I don't see them one day, I know that I have made a difference, whether it is by not winning, but the fact that I gave my time, that has made a difference. And also, there's a vault where the information is available. Other people are going to have access to this information. I haven't had a client that is a charity, but now, because I'm committed to giving back to our communities, I can now say I am going to make a conscious decision to reach out to charities in South Africa and introduce what I have learned. Because if I had not been part of these games, I wouldn't have understood that, Mandisa, this actually can work for charities as well. So as part of my CSI as a brand, I'm going to use what I've learned in the World Games to give back and back and back and back in South Africa.
Thank you so much for sharing these things. These are wonderful lessons. Contribute, benevolent, give of yourself. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't be complacent. I think if I were to summarize one thing you said is, you are only as good as your last contribution. You can't rest on that. You have to continue to contribute, continue to give. Even if you are a rock star and guru status, you can always give more. You can always contribute to not only just building one's own brand, but contribute to the larger community. These are wonderful lessons. We're so grateful that you shared these with us, and thank you for that spirit. As I mentioned before, we're definitely going to invite you to come onto the Fireside Chats Without the Fires podcast and talk more about CX, find out more about your background. And we want to learn more about South Africa. Many of us don't understand or know about the amazing customer care and customer experience community that is just flourishing in South Africa. I know a little bit about it. I want to find more about that. We'll talk about that at another time. For now, we want to thank you once again for your time. We wish you luck. As I said before, we're going to be cheering you on. We're cheerleading. We're supporting you. We're wishing you all the best. And we were definitely tracking your contributions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Neal.
Bravo, Mandisa. Thank you. We'll talk soon. Thank you again.
Goodbye.